Yeah. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I see a lot of you.
Yeah. So you got my Arizona colors on today. I almost brought my hat in, but I think it would probably stand up on its own. I try to wash the thing once a year, whether or not it needs it or not. So.
My husband and I adopted Arizona temporarily after the Lobos were out.
Yeah.
Because we like Tucson, so we just adopted U of
I
A.
remember when they actually, I started school there, when they actually played in a field house that had about 1,800 people.
Yeah.
And then there was an appropriation, and the Arizona State and University of Arizona had the choice. Tempe could get the stadium built because they had great football teams, Frank Kush, and Arizona could get the medical school. And so that's what happened. U of A got the medical school, Tempe got this huge stadium. And in the whole fray, the U of A also got McHale Center. Then several years later, there was a who's going to get the bigger law school.
Yeah.
So they built the law school in Arizona, and they forgot one thing. They forgot to appropriate the money for the carrels, the shelves, and the furniture, so it laid dormant for a year and almost lost its ABA accreditation.
Was this ASU's or U of A?
This is U of A.
U of A.
It was the funniest thing. It was a huge law school with nothing in it for over a year. So I didn't go to law school there.
Kind of like the courthouse in Santa Fe, the new one. They didn't have the money for the furniture.
Oh.
Yeah. It stood empty for quite a while until they found money for furnishing. Should I go ahead and shut the door? Or?
Oh, however you want to do it.
Okay.
This is a public place and a public site.
That's
so.
right. Yeah, and then we don't have any more, well, it's up to you, Ron. We don't have any more witnesses for the city waiting outside, so.
Yeah, okay, no, we're good. I'm fine with it closed.
Yeah, if anybody's claustrophobic, you know. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
All right, could you say your name for the record, please?
Barbara Bruan.
And Ms. Bruan, could you go ahead and tell us where you are employed, please?
I am the director of the Animal Welfare Department for the city of Albuquerque.
And how long have you had that position?
It was 5 years on December 1st, 2014.
So were you the director in 2010?
I was.
Okay. Can you go ahead and turn, please, we'll just cut to the chase here a little bit. Turn, please, to tab 11 in the binder that's in front of you, please.
Okay.
All right. So could you go ahead and take a look? Now, I'm going to actually say for the record, we hadn't clarified this before. When you get to, are you at tab 11?
Yes.
On the first page, and I did note this in the city's exhibit list, but you'll see there's a yellow arrow that says 2011 on there.
Yes.
I put that on there. It is my presumption, given the early January date, that this was a typo, the 2010, because it was referring to a hearing that occurred in December of 2010, and that this was one of those typical beginning of the new year typos where somebody put 2010 and it should have been 2011.
Correct.
Okay, that was my assumption, and I think that's correct. Could you go ahead and tell us about this document, please, and what you did in this case?
It's a notice of final action to Rico Flores from me, dated January 8th, 2011, regarding the incident in the Presbyterian Hospital emergency room. And the discipline imposed was termination.
Okay. Now, can you tell us why you imposed the discipline of termination for this offense that occurred back in July at the Presbyterian emergency room, please?
It was partly progressive discipline based on his disciplinary record up to that point, and also the seriousness of this particular incident.
So when you say up to that point, are you talking about up until January of 2011? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So I'm going to have you go ahead and turn, please, to tab 12.
Okay.
And do you recognize this document?
I do.
And could you go ahead and just scan through it, or maybe you already had, and talk to us about this incident?
It's a notice of final action for Rico Flores injuring himself using the Animal Welfare Department's car wash, and then continuing to exacerbate the injury by impaling himself, his foot, with his badge.
Okay. Now, it looks like the date on this is October of 2010, correct?
Correct.
So this was prior to January of 2011 when you issued the notice of final action on the emergency room incident?
Yes.
Now, it looks like this car wash incident, though, occurred, I'm going to walk through this timeline a bit here, ask for a little leeway with a bit of leading question here, but so the Presbyterian emergency room incident occurred in July of 2010, correct?
Correct.
And the car wash incident occurred in August of 2010, correct?
Correct.
But you issued a notice of final action on the car wash incident in October of 2010. Is that true?
Yes.
Which was, and at that point, the Presbyterian emergency room issue was still pending.
Yes.
All right. So you issued the suspension. We're going to have you in the car wash incident, 30-day suspension. Correct?
Yes.
And have you turn back again to tab 11, please.
Yes.
All right. So when it came time to make a decision about the emergency room incident, it was after October of 2010. Is that right?
Yes.
So can you tell us about what so you had the information about the car wash incident at that point?
Correct.
All right. Can you talk to us about what other factors went into your decision to terminate Mr. Flores, please?
It was his disciplinary history, and most importantly, the nature of the offense for which he was terminated, going to the emergency room and presenting himself as an APD officer in order to get drugs.
Now, did you think that it was a good thing that Mr. Flores had picked up more discipline after the emergency room incident?
No.
Did that factor into your decision at all?
Yes, that it was a continuing pattern of disciplinary issues.
Okay. I'm going to have you go ahead, thank you, and turn to tab 13, please, in this binder. So, the other documents we were just talking about have already been agreed to be admitted into evidence, but I'm going to ask you if you can tell us generally if you recognize document number 13, tab 13, please.
I do. It's notice of final action dated February 1st, 2010 to Rico Flores from me regarding an incident that took place in the squad room between Rico Flores and former officer Fieldson.
Now, without discussing this document any further just yet, was this part of Mr. Flores' disciplinary history that you took into account when making your decision?
Yes.
When I say your decision in the emergency room incident?
Yes.
Okay. And does this appear to be a true and correct copy of the notice of final action, as you recall it?
It does.
Okay, at this time the city is going to move for the admission of City's Exhibit 13, and 13, 13A, and 13B, as they're all related to the same incident.
Objection?
Based on her testimony, no objection, sir.
Submit it.
Thank you. All right, so can you talk to us a little bit more about, I'm still on tab 13, I think you're still there with me, about what happened in this incident and the disciplinary decision you made then?
It was an altercation in the squad room between Rico Flores and Officer Fieldson regarding a fan.
Okay.
But the issue was the inappropriate comments, profanity, aggressive behavior displayed by Rico Flores.
Okay. And you can go ahead, please, and turn to tab B, 13B, please.
I don't know where that is. Oh, there it is.
I know, I always found like we get into trouble with these letter tabs at the city. I apologize.
So it's not, yeah, it is 13B, okay.
It's a little
I
confusing.
believe I have it.
Okay. I'm going to have you actually turn to page 2 of that document under the B tab.
Okay.
Could you go ahead and just read through the under position of the city and just let me know if that seems to be the correct position of the city as you knew it?
Yes.
And then if you could turn to the last page of this B document, which I believe it is COA 12 is the date stamp on it. I'm sorry, we're going to go to COA 11. My apologies.
Okay.
Could you go ahead and read that recommendation to us, please?
The personnel hearing officer, having heard arguments, weighed the evidence, and considered testimony, finds that the city demonstrated just cause through the preponderance of evidence to suspend the grievance for wrongdoing. The personnel hearing officer recommends that the grievance is dismissed as lacking merit.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to turn to tab 14, please, in the binder in front of you. Now, I understand that your name is not on this document. Do you recall reviewing this document at any point when deciding this, making a disciplinary decision for Mr. Flores?
Yes, I would have reviewed it in making any subsequent disciplinary decision.
Thank you. At this time, the city is going to move for the admission of City's Exhibit 14.
Any objection?
Based on her authentication, was it?
It's admitted.
So, can you tell us just a little bit, Ms. Bruan, about what this letter of instruction was about, or what would have concerned you about this letter of instruction?
It involved a failure to pay a fine regarding a speeding violation. And he was in his city unit. So speeding in a city van and then not paying the ticket.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have you turn to tab 15, please, in the binder in front of you. And do you recognize this document as something you would have reviewed?
Yes.
All right. And what is the subject in this document, please?
It's findings and decision on the charges from the predetermination hearing held on August 27th, 2009 for Rico Flores.
Okay. Is this a document that you would have reviewed when making a disciplinary decision regarding the Presbyterian emergency room incident?
Yes.
At this time, the city will move for the admission of City's Exhibit 15 on the basis that it's prior discipline that was used in making a determination in this matter.
Objection?
Okay, no objection. And if we can, to expedite the process, if that's the purpose of entering the rest of the exhibits of the Mr. Flores' personnel file, and that they were reviewed by Ms. Bruan to consider discipline, then we can just go ahead and admit them. And I believe they speak for themselves.
Yes, that is actually the exact purpose of all of these documents. Would be for the record exhibits. So we already discussed 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 has already been admitted, 24, 25. The balance of the exhibits are all for the exact same reasons I've just discussed with Ms. Bruan.
Okay, with the caveat that we agree they speak for themselves, we'll not object to any further testimony regarding these exhibits and allow them to be entered without objection.
Is that fine?
That is fine with the city.
Okay, they're admitted. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Bruan, how would you describe Mr. Flores' work history with the city generally?
It was very troublesome. There were several violations in the last 4 years before termination that were largely of a serious nature.
Do you take terminating employees lightly, Ms. Bruan?
I don't.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you felt about this situation with Mr. Flores?
Well, it was a difficult decision because we don't take termination lightly, but at this point it was crystal clear that he was a safety risk. He had a history of dishonesty, and we have an obligation to the public to make sure that nobody in our employ is potentially problematic, including anger management, aggressive driving, and then possible drug abuse in the emergency room situation.
Okay. Mr. Flores was an animal welfare officer, correct?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about why, as the director of the animal welfare department, the animal welfare officers, why is it so important that their integrity not be challenged?
Well, they represent the city, and they work for the people of the city, and the people have to trust them to do the right thing and to be above board and honest and have integrity.
Kind of going back to the officer incident at the emergency room, to my left here I have Lieutenant McKay. I take it you know Mr. McKay.
I do.
Mr. McKay, for the record, is in uniform right now. In your opinion, what might Mr. McKay look like to a civilian, casual observer?
An officer, an APD officer, or certainly an official of the government.
Okay. Has this issue ever arose previously where there's been concern that someone might inadvertently think that an animal welfare officer was a Albuquerque Police Department officer?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Have you ever had any kind of discussion with the officers or heard of any discussion regarding this issue that it's a...
Yes, there's some concern that they look too much like police officers and that could endanger them. But the flip side of that is it also gives them an aura of authority when they need it.
Okay. So, from your position as the department director, when you said aura of authority, is that something that is sort of a trust that the officers are safeguarding?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
We ask the public to trust that the officer is there for the right reason, doing the right thing, there to protect the people and the animals of the city. So our officers take a lot of pride in that, and we want to reinforce that with our personnel decisions.
Okay. Nothing further, thank you.
Cross?
Yes, sir. Ms. Bruan, can I ask you to turn to tab 12? Actually, tab 11, please.
Okay.
In this notice of final action regarding termination, if you'll turn to the page 3.
Okay.
Under letter F, prior discipline, you have noted that it was reviewed that there were 3 prior disciplines reviewed for this particular discipline. And you start with a 1-day suspension, a 10-day, and a 30-day. Were all those considered in subject to progressive discipline for termination?
Yes.
And can you please turn to Exhibit 12?
Okay.
Is this the final action regarding the 30-day suspension referenced in Exhibit 11, page 3?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is this the final action for the 30 days that is referenced in Exhibit 11, page 3?
Yes.
Okay. You had testified that there was alleged aggressive behavior. Now, if you'll turn to tab 11, regarding the description of allegation, Is it because in the first paragraph that it's alleged that Mr. Flores became upset? Is that why you're referencing aggressive behavior as a pattern?
It was previous to that, in the squad room with the incident and the driving. There's other allegations of aggressiveness.
Okay, and was there any allegation that Mr. Flores was aggressive or threatening to any persons, including Mr. Mulligan?
Any allegations that he was in the emergency room?
Yes.
It says he became upset. I'm not sure of the degree to which that manifested itself in aggressiveness.
Okay, and to your knowledge, did the city conduct its own internal administrative investigation regarding the alleged incident that occurred on July 22nd, 2010?
Yes.
They did. Who conducted the investigation?
I don't recall. The one that led to this discipline?
Yes.
I don't recall. Is it in the document?
No, ma'am, that's what I'm asking.
Okay. I don't recall.
Okay. Do you recall an investigation being completed by Albuquerque Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, was there another investigation report other than the APD report?
I would you're asking the same question?
Yes.
Yes. I assume there was an investigative report.
Okay, because we haven't seen that in evidence.
Okay.
It's been testified earlier there wasn't. I'm asking if
There was
to your
not?
knowledge.
Then we must have relied upon the APD report. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if it's not in this book, then we relied on the APD report and then proceeded to the pre-debt hearing.
Okay. Now, you had testified that there was possible drug abuse. What leads you to that conclusion that there was possible drug abuse, considering the allegations of the July 22nd incident?
Because Rico was there trying to get prescription pain medication
Okay.
under false pretenses.
And what brings you to that conclusion?
Which conclusion?
That he was trying to get prescription drugs?
Based on the physician's assistant at Presbyterian.
Are you aware that he told APD no, he was not trying to get prescription drugs?
I don't believe he told APD that, but I'm not aware.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
I know we covered this, but just so you can review it for yourself, can
Yeah,
you
thank
please?
you.
Sure. Can you please turn to Exhibit 2? And it would be page 3. And if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down, it is asked of Mr. Mulligan if he felt Flores was trying to get something, prescription medication, by giving an affirmative answer when asked if he was with APD. Mr. Mulligan's response was, he stated he did not believe so. Are you aware that Mr. Mulligan did not believe he was trying to get prescription drugs?
I see that in this report, but when he contacted us about the whole incident, his concern was that he was.
And, okay, because of that report, is that what initiated the investigation by APD?
The Milligan's call?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. And this is the official conclusion of the investigation, correct?
Yeah, and it sounds inconsistent to what he first reported.
Okay. Are you aware, Ms. Bruan, that when Mr. Flores was at Presbyterian on July 22nd, 2010, he was not in uniform?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Redirect?
Yes, please. Ms. Bruin, could you go ahead, please, and turn back to, if maybe you're still there, tab 2, page 3 of that same report?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to actually beg you to turn to page 2 of the report, so just flip one page back, please.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to please read paragraph 3. I don't know if you'll see on the side there, there's words, one that says narrative.
Yes.
If you could read the 3rd paragraph, please, of the narrative.
On this date, Detective G. Enzel and I met with Milligan at his residence at 1503 Central Northwest. Milligan stated he remembered the incident with Flores and documented it because it was a confrontational situation. Milligan stated Flores was a walk-in at the emergency room. Milligan advised Flores requested to have his prescription pain medication, unknown what type, refilled as his regular physician had left town. Milligan stated he is a physician's assistant and is able to prescribe medication, but felt Flores did not belong in the emergency room. Milligan declined to write Flores a prescription and referred him to an associate. Milligan stated Flores became upset with him and stated that he, quote, chased criminals and was on light duty because of his pain, unquote. Milligan stated Flores told him he was a, quote, a sworn officer, unquote. Milligan stated he asked Flores if he was with APD. Flores mumbled, yeah. Milligan was curious if he was with APD as he stated he worked with a lot of officers.
I'll stop you there.
Okay.
But now I'd like you to go back and please reread the paragraph that Mr. Gutierrez was referring to, which is paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. If you could please read that first line aloud, because I believe it was taken out of context previously.
Okay. When I asked Milligan, that one?
Yes, thank you.
If he felt Flores was trying to get something, prescription medication, by giving an affirmative answer when asked if he was with APD, Milligan stated he did not believe so, but felt Flores was trying to boost his status and it was more of an ego issue. Milligan stated he did not feel the need to report the behavior to APD or file any type of report, but documented the incident due to the confrontational nature of Flores.
So, Ms. Bruan, having now read this with a little bit more context, would you say that paragraph 4 of page 3 is saying that, or that this report is saying that Mr. Flores didn't try and get prescription pain medication?
No, he was there trying to get the pain medication and tried to convince the physician's assistant that he was a sworn officer in order to get prescription medication.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Rico?
Yes, sir, one thing. If you keep your finger on that and go to page 2.
The police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think you're on page 3 at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, page 2. You conclude that, or just testify that you believe that Mr. Flores was trying to get pain medication by impersonating an officer. But in the synopsis, the police report and their investigation conclusion was that he was actually not trying to deceive anybody to...
I disagree with your characterization of the report.
Go ahead and read the synopsis, if you will.
Synopsis. Detectives were assigned this case to investigate the possibility that Rico Flores impersonated a police officer at Presbyterian Hospital. The following investigation showed Rico Flores did not attempt to exercise the functions of a police officer or deceive another person by showing false credentials to prove he was a police officer.
Okay.
Which is different than trying to
But you said
suggest.
He was trying...
Yeah.
Okay.
He was trying to give the impression he was, but he did not show false credentials, and he did not, I don't know what they mean by exercise the functions of a police officer.
And are you aware that at the time Mr. Flores was at the Presbyterian Hospital, he actually gave them an animal welfare ID?
Is that in this report?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the...
If you look at page 3, 3rd paragraph, Milligan went to another area where E.R. Flores was...
pulled out an animal control officer identification card.
Yes.
Trying to show he was a sworn officer.
Okay, and to your knowledge, are animal control officers sworn officers?
No, but to a member of the public, the credential might look similar.
Okay, so you're not aware. So what about the animal control officer identification card? Does that say APD anywhere on it?
No, but it does suggest you're an officer of the law.
But it does say animal welfare.
It does.
Okay, thank you.
And in some police departments, animal control is part of the police department.
So basically you're saying then if an officer shows a animal welfare identification card, it could be taken that they might be APD?
It could be misleading.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Follow up?
No follow-up.
Thank you very much for being here. Have a great day. You're excused. Any other witnesses for the city?
No, Mr. Bingham, the city will rest.
Okay. Who do you want to call, Mr. Gutierrez?
Yes, sir. At this time, we would like to call Mr. Flores.
Yeah, you can stay there, sir. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. State your name for the record.
Rico, Flores.
Okay, go ahead.
And Mr. Flores, were you a employee of the city of Albuquerque?
Yes, sir.
And for what department did you work?
I started off as an animal handler for a little over 2 years, and then the officers there wanted me to come join their side, and I did all the credentials, did everything I had to do, and I went and I became a sworn-in commissioned officer to the courts.
Okay, sir. And as an animal handler, when were you hired as an animal handler by the city?
I believe in 2000.
Okay. And when did you become an animal control officer?
In 2004, in that era.
Now, you said you are a sworn and commissioned officer. Why do you believe you're a sworn and commissioned officer?
Because, like Ms. Bruan said, it does take a lot. You do have to go to certain schools. You do have to train. You have to be able to run. You have to be effective to control a dog on a stick. You have to be diligent when you talk to people and let them know who you are before they get to the door, because we wear bulletproof vests, and they can most and not think you're an officer.
Do you testify in court for part of your duties?
Yes.
And when you testify in court, are you testifying under oath as a sworn officer?
I'm not now, but yes.
At the time, you were an
Yeah,
animal
at the
control
time,
officer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
Now, real quickly, let's go back to July 22nd, 2010. Can you please, in your own words, tell us the events that occurred on that particular day?
Okay, let me, I don't want to fog this up, make it too long. I broke my knee, my femur, everything was broken. I had surgery, 3 days out. We were at that other hearing when, I can't recall which one it was, but after that day, I was still trying to walk around doing my physical therapy, and I fell down and it bumped up. So I asked my daughter to drive me to the Presbyterian, and at the time I was medicated, and I just simply forgot that anytime I ever went to a hospital, it was a Presbyterian, because that's the city's hospital, and I didn't even think about it twice that they had farmed me out to UNM at OSIS. So not only did I go to the wrong hospital, I didn't go to the right one.
Was the operation and injury work-related?
Yes.
And prior to July 22nd, 2010, how many days would you say you had your operation?
4 days.
Okay. And again, why were you at Presbyterian on July 22nd, 2010?
I remember Dr. Trini telling me, because of all the parts I have in there, if I have a fall within the first 30 days, to go get immediate x-ray, because if they have to go in again, they can do it while everything is still fresh. So my daughter drove me, like I said, to the press, and I didn't recollect that I was at OSIS. Okay. So that's when that started.
Okay, so once you go into Presbyterian Hospital, what happened then?
I spoke to the young gentleman, and he was asking me, why are you here? And I told him I had just had my surgery on my knee, and that my doctor told me that if I had any kind of falls, anything to that point, I needed to get a check, x-ray, something. So he says, hold on. So I'm sitting in the chair waiting for him, and he comes back and he says, well, I don't have no records of this. So I'm thinking, there's no records. I don't have no kind of records of a surgery from him. So they went back. I stood out in the wheelchair for about 30 minutes, give or take, and they come at me and they say, well, who do you work for? You know, what do you work for? What do you do? And I said, I work for the city of Albuquerque. And they said, well, you didn't have that procedure done here. And I said, well, where did I have it done? Can I have an x-ray? That's all I wanted was an x-ray. And I gave them my both of my identifications. I told them I'm AWD. I told them I'm off duty. I can't walk on this leg, and I would just like to have an x-ray.
Okay, sir, now you had said you had presented ID. I'm going to show you a photocopy of an ID that we just photocopied earlier. Does this look familiar?
Yes, sir.
And what is this photocopy of?
This is the photo ID that we all have to have at all times.
And what is this photo ID?
To let the public know who we are, what we stand for.
And how does this photo ID, who does it identify?
It identifies me as an officer for the city of Albuquerque in Animal Welfare Department.
Okay, and is this the ID that you presented to, who did you present this to?
To the gentleman that spoke on the phone.
Mr. Mulligan?
Mr. Mulligan, I gave him this one. I gave him one of my cards. I let it known to be him that I wasn't...
Okay, hold on, sir. Before you go any further, that's fine. I would like to admit this as, I guess we could just call it Union 1.
All right, call it Grievance Exhibit A.
Or Grievance Exhibit A.
City has numbers.
Yes,
Any
sir.
problem?
No objection.
Submitted.
Okay, thank you, sir. Perfect. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead and continue. Okay, let me follow up then. After you presented this identification, you said you gave them 2 cards. What was the second card?
It was my card that I give to all the people when we go knock on the door, nobody answers. I put the card with the door hanger so they know it was me that went over there, and they can call me, give me voicemail, everything's on there.
Okay. I do not have a photocopy of this, but I'd like to pass this around, perhaps make a photocopy of it as an exhibit.
And that's just a courtesy.
Okay.
So would you like to look at it now, sir?
Oh, you're gonna make me a copy anyway, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll call that Grievance Exhibit B, but we'll write it on the copy. Don't need to write it on the card.
Okay, I'm just writing the back, that way I can
All right.
identify it later. Mr. Flores, on this business card, does it offer information regarding your employment status?
Yes, sir.
And how does it identify you?
It first says City of Albuquerque, Officer R. Flores, Field Services, Batch number 28. And then it says Environmental Health Department.
Okay, so when you presented these 2 documents to Mr. Mulligan, could they have contacted the City of Albuquerque to confirm your employment?
Yes, they could.
Now, at any time, did you represent to Mr. Mulligan or any other Presbyterian employee that you were an APD officer?
No, sir.
At any time, did you state that you were an APD officer for the purpose of trying to receive prescription drugs?
No, sir.
Okay. You had said that you had your operation 4 days prior.
Yes, sir.
Did they, at that point, give you medication for the operation?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of medication.
Okay. Did you still have that medication 4 days after your operation?
Oh, yeah. I had that medication for quite a bit of time, actually.
So did you need to go in and ask for more medication considering you still had some?
No.
After your conversation with Mr. Mulligan and other Presbyterian employees, what did you do?
I couldn't understand where they were, the way they were coming at me, you know, asking all these certain questions, and after I gave them those, and, you know, I said, you know, if you don't want to help me, then I will go elsewhere. And that ended everything, and I took off because I was, I mean, my leg was in pain, I'm under medication. These guys, as far as I was concerned, didn't know, but even if you look up under Presbyterian, because I work for the city, you should have seen some kind of note for my social security number, my badge number, everything that has to do with the city.
Did you receive any medical care when you went in?
No, I did not receive no medical whatsoever.
Did you inform them that you had fallen and that you needed to report if there was some type of injury?
Yes, sir. That was the first thing I told him. He asked me, I told him.
Okay, since you did not receive medical care, did you leave?
Yes, sir.
Anything happen after that?
No.
Pass the witness.
Ross?
Mr. Flores, so is it your testimony today that everything that Physician's Assistant Milligan testified to is a lie?
Objection, be specific, everything. He
Everything's
testified to a
everything.
lot of things, I guess.
Overruled.
There was a lot of things he said that didn't pertain to me. I know that for a fact. And I wasn't trying to be anybody I'm not. So I would have to say yes, and like it's dictated in that paper there, he said, and I know he said that everything was one big confusion. That was his last words.
So you're saying you did not request any prescription pain medication at the emergency room?
No, ma'am.
So when Mr. Milligan said that you did, he was lying, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're saying that you never said you chased criminals?
No.
You never intimated or suggested that you that you were an Albuquerque police officer?
No, ma'am.
And you never became confrontational when Mr. Milligan wouldn't prescribe medication to you?
No, ma'am.
Nothing further, no other questions for this witness?
Anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. You're excused. Any other witnesses that you have?
No, sir. We had all the same witnesses after that.
Any rebuttal?
May I have a moment, please, Mr. Brennan?
Sure, let's take a break.
Thank you.
Back on the record. Thank you.
All right.
What we'll do is we'll mark this as grievance exhibit, and I'm referring to the business card, B.
Oh, thank
And I
you.
got an extra copy over here for the official one, so we got that done. Okay, any rebuttal?
No rebuttal from the city.
Anything further from grievance?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, well, let's see. What do you want to do about a close?
I am having an operation in 2 weeks on my shoulder, so.
I'm sorry?
Dislocated or tore my shoulder, my rotator cuff, so I'm gonna need a little time to recover. As far as, trying to write these briefs, that's why I'm.
Well, you want to make an oral class? Whatever you want to do. You want to do a quick brief?
How
It's
do
up
you
to
feel
you
about
guys.
that?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm always ready to do an oral closing. However, I have my able co-counsel here, Ms. Garcia, because my last day with the city is on Friday.
Oh.
It's the day after tomorrow. And so any written briefs, Ms. Garcia has been taking notes. Usually I know Mr. Gutierrez prefers written briefs, and I personally have no, either way is fine with me.
Okay. What's the 26th?
Yes, 25th.
So 25th? How about April the 20th? What day is that?
It's my mother's birthday.
Let me see.
What's the 20th?
That's a Monday.
Is that all right?
It only gives me a week and a half. I don't know how well I'll be functioning at that point. You think?
Oh, you're having surgery?
Yes, sir.
Well, that throws an elbow into the ring.
If we can go May 8th, is that too far out? Is that okay?
I will defer to Ms. Garcia for this.
I have no problem on behalf of the city of having them do on May 8th.
May 8th. Okay, we'll do it on May 8th.
Hope you recover quickly.
Okay.
I do too. I thought I'd only be out a weekend. Let's tell me you're crazy. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you very much.
Very pleasant experience.